Isabel from Be Wise Plant Society and Be Wise Gardens, and today I want to show you how to propagate your houseplants via division as opposed to taking cuttings like you may have already seen. This is how most people, you may have noticed, or you may have already done it yourself, take cuttings, stick it in water, and let it wait to root. These are actually hydrangeas, and they have completely rooted. So those will be transplanted soon, but you can also do that with houseplants. And so this is a little heartleaf philodendron, and it actually does have little tiny roots starting. So if you want to do it this way, just make sure and keep the water clean and have a clean container to put it in. We've done that with several different plants. We've done it with Dracaena cuttings, that's one right there. Done it with this sort of pencil cactus, and then we can take cuttings from succulents, we can take cuttings from vining plants. Most plants will, like this Tradescantia here, will do well with a cutting. So you can watch our other video on how to do that and what to look for. So instead of doing a cutting, I'm going to talk about what plants I would divide to propagate, because they usually shoot off pups. So like this one, the larger plant is typically the mother plant, and it has pups around it. So this is a Haworthia, and it actually has pups. Now, I don't necessarily have to transplant this. I like the look of this one, so I'm not going to. But if I wanted to propagate it and create more plants, this would be a good way to go, dividing it. Another plant that you can divide and propagate is Sansevieria, or snake plants. Those again, are typically really easy to divide each section and create more plants. Another one that's really common is Peperomia. This one already has a little pup. And most aloes will also do that. So this is actually a hybrid aloe, and it has mostly pups. I don't even know what the mother plant is anymore, but I really like the look of this one, and so I don't think I will transplant it or divide it for a little bit longer until maybe it gets a little bit too leggy or tall. But again, a great way to create more plants, to give away, or to expand your collection. Today, I'm going to divide this poor, neglected Bromeliad. The mother plant was actually in the center here, died off completely, so I chopped it down. That had a flower spike, and it was beautiful for its time. And usually the mother plants will last for quite a few years, as well as shooting up pups, which are these guys here on the sides. But they eventually do die off. So instead of keeping it like this, I'm gonna make two separate plants. And usually you can divide bromeliads once the pups get about half the size of the mother plant. These are actually, this one's basically as big as the mother plant was. This one's a little bit smaller, but it's time to do it. So I'm gonna show you how to do that and how to transplant it. What you'll need is a sharp knife, or you can do like a razor blade. And I'm gonna use cactus mix for this today because it's really well draining, but it still has organic matter in it. I bought a specifically organic cactus potting mix. So it has some, I think it has some like organic fertilizers like kelp meal and feather meal and things like that that will slowly release to feed the plant over time, as well as bark and perlite and what else? Sand, I think, is in that one. So I'm gonna clear this away a little bit and bring over my pots to be able to transplant these into. So I'm gonna reuse some small little plastic pots and then place those in more decorative ones. These guys I just washed with soap and water, and you can do an additional sanitization or sanitizing bath where you dip it in a little bit of bleach and water, but for this purpose they were already pretty clean, and I'm not worried about transferring some kind of disease or anything. So I'm going to take my sharp knife, and you can see this is the root ball. So some of that is going to be this one, some of that's going to be this one. I'm not going to worry about cutting the roots because it'll actually stimulate more growth once I've repotted it into its each own pot. So what I want to do is kind of find where it starts to grow away from the old mother plant. And I might take a little cutting right next to the mother plant and try to give this one as much room as possible. So what I'm gonna do is just slice down and sort of away from this pup. Just like that. So you can see this was the base of the old plant. I'm gonna try to keep this, all this. Some of it might be dead, but I actually want to have that just hold the plant in a little bit better. So that one should be good to go. Just like that. We'll do this one as well. Do the same thing, just kind of pull it away gently and cut close to the mother plant. Okay, so a lot of this root ball fell off. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and take away, it was holding on by one root. This does have a little bit of roots left on it. And I'm gonna take away some of this dead foliage. But I can tell by how firm this is that it is alive and well, it's not rotting or something. And it doesn't smell rotten, doesn't have a bad odor. And yeah, what I wanna do now is fill up my pot. I'm gonna use the bigger one for the slightly larger one and the smaller one for the small. I don't want to go too big. I want to go big enough that the soil will hold this down and not let it fall over when it's a little bit top heavy. But I don't want to go much larger than that. This is like two inches bigger than the root ball there. For this one, I am going to do that. And the roots will eventually fill it up, but I might want to also stake it so that since it doesn't have a root ball, it won't fall over as easily. So I can just fill this up about halfway because this isn't going to go all the way to the bottom. I'm going to leave a little bit of room for a reservoir for when I water it. The water doesn't just spill over. So I'll backfill it. And I'm filling up the soil level to where it starts to change color. So you can kind of see that this is a little bit paler and this is brighter green, so I'll put the soil up to about there. And I'm just gonna pack this in. Firmly but gently. So yeah, this one has a little bit of room for water. And the next one is this one. Need to compress that soil a little bit more so it doesn't get stuck. All right. All right, and pack that one in gently but firmly. And it's actually staying pretty well, but I don't want it too full because I want that reservoir when I water. So now that that is done, I might again stake this. Once I water, it will help the soil settle down a little bit and firm up. I am going to grab some decorative pots. First, what I'll do is I will water these all the way through, maybe in the sink, and then collect whatever falls out, the soil that falls out. But this one will go in there, and neither of these have drainage, so they're gonna act sort of as my saucers to catch water, but I will always empty that water if it sits in there. And so those are my two bromeliads. These are gonna go into, after I water them and make sure they're not sitting in water, they're gonna go into a really bright indirect light location or under a plant light for 6+ hours a day. Thank you for watching, and I hope you propagate your plants.